Hey there, RJ here, and this is the story of my life. So recently I've been looking at Facebook, and I've seen a lot of these memes that have been popping up that are saying a lot of things about EVs that are just not true. I can best describe this as EV propaganda, and it baffles me. Where does this coming from? So a good example would be I saw a meme recently that was talking about how with everything that's going on in Russia right now, that it's going to be amazing when uh, Elon Musk goes and is told by the U.S. government to turn off all the EVs or all the Teslas in Russia and just deactivate them, and that this is why EVs are really bad, is because you have that ability to do that. And I find this so odd because, yes, I believe that Tesla does. I'm almost 99.9% positive that Tesla could do that. But a lot of ICE vehicles, a lot of vehicles that aren't EVs, normal, traditional gas-powered vehicles, also have that ability to do that. And so I find it very odd that this is something that people are starting to become paranoid about. We've already had a lot of issues where, I shouldn't say issues, a lot of issues. We've had a couple more conspiratorial kind of situations where you have people who have no history of reckless driving, are always good drivers, and all of a sudden they die after releasing some information, and just some very suspicious things. And a lot of it comes back down to the whole drive-by-wire, that when you press the gas pedal in a gas car, that you're not actually opening the throttle or doing anything to affect the engine. It's you're triggering a switch that sends an electric signal that causes that to happen. And this is the case for a lot of modern vehicles. Now, you could make the argument that don't own a modern vehicle, because if you have an older vehicle that doesn't have any of these smart connectivity features, that then you're not going to have this problem. And that is a valid point. But it's not something that's specific to EVs. And so I find it very odd that that is happening. There was another one that was along the similar lines about owning EVs, but I can't remember what it is off the back of my head right now. Regardless of that, right now I'm driving in an EV. This is a Chevy Bolt that I'm driving, and I've owned it for almost a year. So I'm filming this in late March. I bought this car last May, so about 2 months short. But I bought it partly because it was very odd that I would hear. I looked at the stats, I looked at everything that was going, like what the vehicle was, and I liked the sound of it. I heard a lot of people saying things about EVs. Some of it seemed true, some of it seemed hyperbolic. And part of it, why I bought it, was, first of all, I wanted it. That's a big part of it. And two, is I really wanted to get a first-hand perspective on actually owning an EV and what it is like and how it affects my life and the way I drive and all these things. And so I had the opportunity to do it. It was also a really good time because this was when there was that big hack on the oil pipeline in the south, and a lot of people were desperate for fuel. So it's like, well, this looks like there's a lot of big issues are going to be coming up in the future regarding gas prices. So this would also be something good to have. And I don't regret that at all. Right now we're pushing to $4 a gallon where I live. I know a lot of places are much, much higher than that, so I can't really be complaining. We're actually one of lower places. So, yeah, the amount of driving I do would be very expensive. So, part of this video I want to talk about is what my experiences have been with driving an EV for the past year. And the good, the bad, just all of it. And I think overall, I've been very happy. And I think that an EV is a very worthwhile thing to own. I mean, even driving this, I did the math on it, and I put about 100 miles, 80 to 100 miles every single day on this vehicle. I do a lot of driving. And I've been driving it in all sorts of different kind of weather as well. I have driven this in snowstorms, in below zero temperatures. Gosh. And I've had a lot of experience driving this and really knowing, its strengths and weaknesses. So, probably the best place to start, and then I'll go with the things that I found most interesting. So, some of the things that I found most interesting was, actually, no, let's back up. I'm going to start by talking about the reason why I bought this. So I did mention the gas prices was a big thing that I wanted it, but I want to be very clear about something. This is something I hear a lot from people who are against EVs. Is they give, I find it so bizarre that they give this environmental argument. They say that, well, EVs, they use, these kind of minerals for the batteries, and, gas is cleaner or safer, whatever. And it's like, look, you don't have, the people who are making those arguments are generally not coming from the point of, let's be making sure we have a good, clean environment. They're not environmentalists. They're look at it and say people who buy EVs must be environmentalists, so I'm going to point out their hypocrisy, which is just bizarre to me. I did not buy this EV at all because of any of the environmental factors. It was not a single bit of consideration to me when I purchased this. If it polluted more than a gas car or polluted less than a gas car, I do not care. Now, it does pollute less than a gas car, and there are some benefits that I did not consider to that, which I'll get to. But I think we need to take away this idea that EVs are just about the environment. The reality is, before I bought this, I was driving a Lexus, and I have some videos on this channel where I was driving a Lexus as well. And the Lexus, it was a fun car to drive. This is more fun to drive. And this is not a particularly sporty vehicle. If you're getting something like a Tesla, which is, yes, much more expensive, then that's going to be even more fun to drive. I've driven those, and they're nice cars. I'm not going to deny that. But I find this more fun to drive because you have this instant torque. So when I hit the gas like that, which is a gas when I hit the throttle, it just pushes you back. And this isn't even on sport mode. I was playing around with sport mode today, actually, and if I have that on, then it just really just goes. And it even when I'm going 75 miles an hour on the interstate, yes, we have 80 mile per hour speed limits here. So if I'm going 75 miles an hour and I put the throttle down, it's going to have that same effect. It is impressive, and I would not have that when I was driving my Lexus IS 250. So this is a really big difference. Now, if you're someone who's going to be saying, no, I really want to be driving a manual sports car, fine. I understand why you'd want that. I understand the benefits of that, and the enjoyment that you'll get from that. You're not going to get the same thing, admittedly. So go get that car. I'm not talking to car guys here. I'm talking to people who are buying vehicles to get from point A to point B every single day. They're the people who just have a car to do a commute. And so if you're writing in the comments right now, it's like, whoa, my Mustang or my Miata or whatever car is your car, look, that's not my point here. My point is just the experiences that I'm having with this. So I bought this car because I wanted to save on gas, and it definitely does that. And also I bought this car because it is just fun to drive. It is a blast. I really enjoy doing it, driving it. So, some things that I've experienced after driving this. One is that I know it's kind of silly to say this. This is not a gas car, and so as a result, it's best not to drive it like a gas car. So, a good example of this, it does not like going on the interstate. Yes, we have 80 mile per hour speeds. Yes, it can go 80 miles per hour. It is not efficient going at 80 miles per hour. And that does matter. The efficiency does matter. So what I end up finding out is that when I have the choice, if I don't need to be somewhere particularly quickly, I start taking these alternative routes. And this is not something I was planning on doing. This is something that I'm just responding to the information I'm getting from the car. The car says, hey, I'm going to be using a lot more range if I'm going to be going 80 miles per hour all the time. So instead of going 80 miles per hour, I say, great, is there an alternative way? Can I be going on a route that's 45 miles an hour or 55 miles per hour, all these things? And I started going on a lot, avoiding the interstate more and going on a lot of these alternative routes, and I enjoy it more. Again, you may not. You may be someone who prefers to be able to just go on the interstate and just have this soulless drive, but going through on these different routes, and it's more engaging. It's something that I'm seeing more part of the town. I'm more engaged with not just the driving aspect of it, because I have to pay more attention when I'm driving through a city, but it's also something where I'm more. I know, like I have a better feel for the town and what's going on, and it just makes me feel more connected. So it's a hard thing to explain, but I really enjoy this. Yes, a lot of times it's going to be slower, and this is where it depends. Sometimes I'll go to the interstate, sometimes I'll take these alternative routes. It all depends. Right now, I could be taking the interstate. I have nowhere particularly I need to go at any particular time, so I'm taking an alternative route where it's going to be about 48 miles an hour to go, and I just get to see another part of the town that I wouldn't normally not see. So this is a big part. It's just be aware you're going to be driving differently, and this does make a difference, because when you're driving an ICE vehicle, your efficiency range is going to be usually around 50 to 60 miles per hour. Or if you're driving at that speed, those lower highway speeds, that's where your car is going to be particularly efficient. This car in particular, and I imagine a lot of electric cars, they're very efficient in the 30 miles per hour range. So these very more city speeds. So if you're going to be doing a lot of city driving, it works out really well. If you have a lot of highway driving and you can't avoid that, yeah, that's going to be a big downside. But again, different people, different things. If it's not something that works for you, then it's just not something that works for you. That's fine. So, a couple other things. I know a lot of people also often say that they are very expensive. So, I bought this one for $20,000, and right now I could actually sell it for more than that, even with the additional miles, because of the increase, all the things that's been going on with the market and all that. I don't need to go into too much detail there. It has 360 camera, leather seats, heated seats, all these things. That's not the absolute top line, but it's really close. Bought it $20,000. Yes, it was new. It was pre-owned, so it's certified pre-owned for whatever that's worth. But it's not $50,000, $70,000 for a Tesla. Tesla's not the only vehicle that makes electric cars. And because they're not the only one, there are places you can get that are cheaper than buying a Tesla. I know this is shocking to a lot of people, but this is not an expensive car to own and to drive. And when I consider the amount, again, I drive 80 to 100 miles every single day. The amount of money I would be spending on gas just driving, so if I had the car paid off completely, is almost, not quite, it's like $40 short of my monthly payment. And I also went for a shorter payment cycle, so I could have gone for a bit longer and had paid less, where my monthly payment is actually less. Maybe I should have done that, but regardless, this car almost pays for itself with the amount I'm saving in gas. Now, I know a lot of people are going to say, well, I found this article where it said that filling up your electric vehicles can cost just as much as filling up your gas tank. If you look at the comments of that article that was published, I forget who published it. It was a reputable, big name journal company, whatever you call them. But whoever it was that published it, if you look at the comments, you have a bunch of people who own electric vehicles, saying this is just not true. I don't know where they're pulling this from. And that is the same thing here. It's definitely not true that it costs as much to charge an electric vehicle as a gas car, unless you have really dirt cheap gas and really expensive electricity. Most places will have an option where you can get discounted rates at night to charge your EV, and they can have basically cheaper rates for charging EVs. So that's another option. A lot of places, you just got to know what your local place offers. your local power company offers. And there's a lot of places where you can actually charge your vehicle for free. Where I live, there are two places fairly close. One of them is a bit of a long, okay, it's within walking distance, a long walking distance, but within walking distance. Number one, it's you have to drive there. Now, I get it, you have to drive there and leave the car. If you want to leave the car there before a couple hours, it's not a great location for that. But this is the other big part. And I don't think electric cars are quite at a point where most people are going to say, I'm going to only have one car and it's only going to be an electric car. It is really good to have an electric car for a lot of the driving and a gas car for a lot of the other things that you need to do. Most people in the United States, the average car ownership in the United States is 1.8 or 1.9 cars per family, cars per household. So most people have at least two vehicles. If one of those vehicles is a gas car, one of those vehicles is an electric car, you'll end up saving a lot of money. And it's a good option for people who are set up that way. My wife and I, we have two vehicles. We have a minivan, a Sienna minivan, and we have this vehicle as well. And we try and put as much as we can into this vehicle because the cost per mile is so much cheaper when you consider the gas and the amount of maintenance involved. It is actually cheaper to drive this than it is to our Sienna, even though the Sienna is totally paid off. So I will give that credit. Yes, electric vehicles are not a perfect replacement. There are still times where gas vehicles are better. And for some people, there are times where diesel vehicles are better. These are just different kinds of vehicles that serve different purposes. And so if you're looking for something that's just going to replace everything, I mean, electric vehicles at this point are not quite there yet. But I think they're headed there. So another thing I want to talk about is driving in the winter. So yes, driving in the winter is really tough. And we do not have level 2 charger in our garage. During the summer, it wasn't an issue. When the winter came, we looked at doing it, but we ultimately decided to move, and so we were able to just work around it for the time being. It does cost some money to get it, but it costs less than $1,000. So again, for the amount of driving we're doing, that would be about 3 months worth of gas that we'd be saving. It would be worth it if we were staying here longer, but we're not. So it's just not worth it for us. And now spring is coming and summer's coming. We'll be fine. So I'm not too worried about it. But again, we were still putting 80 to 100 miles every single day on the car. And during the winter, there's some challenges. We had to go and use a lot of these public chargers a lot just because they're faster and just do a lot of flipping and balancing. It worked for us, may not work for everybody. But again, if you have a level 2 charger in your garage, then it would not be an issue for the majority of the driving you do. And it handled fine in the snow. So yeah, no real issues there. I know something else I mentioned before was that there are benefits to not having the exhaust fumes. One second, bud. And one of the big areas is, I have 3 kids, and we drive them around, all 3 kids around quite a bit in this vehicle. And sometimes the kids will fall asleep in the car, and we just want to let them sleep in the car because they need to take a nap. And if we pull them out, they're going to be cranky. If you have kids, you understand what we're talking about here. And with a gas vehicle, first of all, you're going to just be burning a bunch of gas. And you can't park the vehicle inside the garage because that would be having the gas go into the garage, and it's dangerous. Don't do that. But what you can do is you can take this Chevy Bolt, park in the garage, plug it in. You can have air conditioner or heat running, whatever it is. You can have music playing. It's not, you don't have to worry about the battery. Yes, it's charging from the wall, so that's not an issue. It's clean. There's no fumes or gases coming out, and it's a safe way. And so you can have the kid there. They can sleep there. The door's open. Car seat is unbuckled, and as soon as they wake up, they can get out of the car and head inside. Which, speaking of heading inside, I think I have to bring this video to an end. think I got most of the points I wanted to get across here anyway. But my son here is ready to go inside. But yeah, this has been all my views. Thank you so much for watching. And if you like this kind of content, then please be sure to subscribe. I got a lot of really interesting stuff headed down the pipeline. So just keep an eye out for that. Thanks so much.